Have you ever really thought about what the value and the purpose of your life is? It was the end of spring 1991, and I was just finishing my freshman year in high school. The weather was getting warmer in California, and I could not wait for summer. On this particular Friday, I had a group of friends who wanted to hang out after school, so I decided to ride my bike home from school that day. We had early morning seminary, and my mom was our seminary teacher. She would drive me and my brother to seminary and then drop us off at school. That morning, I loaded my bike in the back of the van, and we went to seminary. After seminary, she drove me and my older brother and dropped us off at school with my bike. School seemed especially long that day, probably because all I could think about was hanging out with my friends after school. When school let out, I was the first one to the bike rack. I remember tapping my foot on the floor, waiting for the janitor to open the gate. Riding home from school was especially easy. I had 3 main lights to go through down Pipeline Avenue until we got to Wakefield. Once on Wakefield, it was about a quarter mile down to the T, which led to Roswell. Now, the road conditions of Roswell were not like the ones on Wakefield. Wakefield was boring, flat, and straight, but Roswell had a curve on it, and this made anybody who was riding a bike so happy. If you went really fast down Wakefield and then turned your wheels just right, you could catch a little air going over on Roswell. I began to speed up, getting ready for this thrill, when a visual came into my head. This visual was of a truck, a red truck, hitting me on Roswell. I thought, that was so odd. And so I dismissed it and I kept riding. A few seconds later, I got a distinct word pop into my head, and it said, stop. Immediately I thought, I do this all the time. Rarely are there cars that come down Roswell because it's a back hidden street. A few seconds later, when I was almost to the corner, the word came again, stop, louder in my head. I slammed on my brakes, nearly falling off my bike. Once I stood up and composed myself, I saw a silver truck fly by me on Roswell. I was in complete shock. I just realized my life had been spared. I knew at that moment that my life had purpose. Make sure that you recognize those times in your life when the Lord shows you your purpose.